Kadosh, Boker Or, I wanted to share with you an incredible idea. What is the secret for being happy? Hamafteach, the key to being happy. We know today is a very, very important concept because at the end of the day, from the time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the human being on the land, right, until today, everyone's always running after being happy. People think, this will make me happy. So they run after it and they try to perceive it and they try to get it. And once they get it, they realize, 1 second, I'm still not happy. So then they try running after something else. And every single time we're always on the run. And we're always trying to come and to run after, whether it's new technologies, whether it's new different type of things that are, and we keep on thinking that is the key to happiness. But then we realize it's empty. So what exactly is it? So when we actually pay more attention, right, we're actually going to say that maybe 2% of happiness has to do with outside external factors. The majority of happiness is within the person himself. It's within inside of him. Anybody that's going to see the world divided into two, he's going to actually see it. There are people that they're always going to be happy and people that are always going to be bitter. There were Jews that they lost their entire family in the Holocaust, right? And when you used to come and see them, and they were in the hospitals, and they were suffering and everything, and you used to ask him, no, Rav Yankel, how do you feel? And the answer is, Baruch Hashem, I'm learning, I'm praying, I'm happy. But then afterwards you come and you see some people that they have wife, they have children, they have money. But when you ask them, how are you? There's always something you could tell on their faces that they're bitter. You could tell that they're missing something. And you think to yourself, well, 1 second, you have a wife, you have children, you have money. What else do you need? And there's no answer. Why? Because no matter what, they always want more. So therefore, we're going to try to understand how is this connected to us. In this week's parasha, we have something which is called the Hechal Meraglim, the spies. They went into the land of Israel. They were trying to spy out the land, and then they come back. So if we're going to speak about the entire concept of Hechal Meraglim, right? We're talking about the Lashon Hara and everything, right? The pasuk says you should know, Lo nechtam gzar dinam shel avotenu b'midbar ela Lashon Hara. You should know that the gzar din in the desert was because of Lashon Hara. He says why? Because it says Vaynasu oti ze eser pe'amim. Now we have a few questions, right? Who do they speak about Lashon Hara about? Did they speak about your friend? A family member? They spoke about a piece of land, about stones, about pieces of wood, about a land. Is an inanimate object, right? On domem. Do you think that the land cares? Yeah? Do you think afterwards the land could sleep at night? What exactly, what is the Lashon Hara over here? And now let's go back to another question. What's the issue to speak Lashon Hara about land? Right? Because at the end of the day, what does that mean? And ad kedei kach, where it says, in this you don't believe in Hashem, your God. He says, I don't understand. They didn't believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu until they said, Ki chazaku mimenu, that really be'emet, they are stronger than Hashem. I'm saying, they saw it. What does that mean? So we're going to start, we have to go back a little bit. We have to actually start from one step behind. And it goes as follows. Rav Chaim Vital, he wrote a sefer called Sha'arei Kedusha. And in this sefer, it's actually speaking about its hadracha. It's giving us direction to somebody that already wants to get to Ruach HaKodesh. So first of all, he has to come and he has to fulfill that, which is written here. And he says, if somebody does not believe, right, he could come and he could test. So at the beginning of the sefer, he comes and he says like this. He says, the roots of all our actions are our midot. If you're going to fix the actions and you didn't fix the midot, you didn't fix anything. You did not fix anything. What is it compared to? He says, imagine right now you have a Jew that he has a very, very strong infection, right? And it starts and it causes a lot of tsaim, a lot of, let's say, acne or things like that. So if right now he's going to come and he's going to get rid of the acne, but he didn't get rid of the infection. That's like a person that has an infection and he takes an Advil or Tylenol. It's true the fever will go down, but it'll come back again. Because if he doesn't attack the infection, he's still going to have it. The fever was only just to tell the body, by the way, you have an infection. But if you're not going to attack the source, it doesn't help. So what's the nimshal? As we already mentioned, the actions are only a fruit of our midot. And therefore, since it's only a fruit of our midot, if we don't fix the midot, even if we fix the action, we didn't actually do anything. Another concept is already brought down, that to do with the shoresh midot, ben adam lamakom, it starts between also ben adam lechavero, which means like this. With an action, you could say palginan, which means you divide it, right? This action is going to be ben adam lechavero, ben adam lamakom, right? But he comes and he says like this. He says, however, though, right, it does not exist dividing it, right? It cannot be that you have a person that he's the biggest tzaddik in the world, binyan adam lechavero, right? You can't be it. Some people, if you're looking at it, he says, it does. How do you do that? That's to do with actions. Meaning you could have a person that he's the biggest tzaddik, but to do with interpersonal relationship, he's the biggest rasha. And the other way around. But he says, but to do with midot, it doesn't exist. Because midot, it doesn't exist such concept. Whether it's going to be avodat Hashem, avat Hashem, serving Hashem, loving Hashem, fearing Hashem, right? Clinging to Hashem, being happy with what you have, accepting shamayim ba'ava. But you cannot come and be, that's why it says if you're an ingrate towards your friend, you're going to be ingrate to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you don't recognize the good that your friend does to you, you won't recognize the good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for you. It's automatically, because just that's the nature of how it works. So he says, because the midot itself, you cannot come and divide it, right? You cannot split it. Somebody that's kafui tova to your friend can never be, and that's the concept. B'midot, there's no such thing as palgina. There's no such thing as splitting up in midot. You could split it up in action. You could say, listen, this guy's a big tzaddik, but don't get near him. Why? You'll get burnt, right? Or the other way around. This guy's the biggest, nicest guy in the world, but he doesn't fulfill not one mitzvah in the book. He doesn't do anything, right? So now let's try to see what is the shortage of Lashon Hara. Where does the Lashon Hara come from? If I would ask you this question, what would you say? So here it says, what is the midah which is behind Lashon Hara besides obviously gava? Because gava is haughtiness. Because if a person was humble, he would never speak about anybody else, because if he feels so lowly of himself, he'll never come and say, it's obviously that I'm better than him. So since I'm better than him, I could speak Lashon Hara. So besides the haughtiness, what exactly is the midah behind it? And the answer is ayin ra'ah, a bad eye. Now we'll see, right? Obviously, part of that is jealousy. 1 second, he says like this: a bad eye is that he only sees negative. He only sees bad. There's no such thing as a Jew that does not have something positive, that he only has negatives. In the biggest rasha, you could still find positive things. And in the biggest tzaddik, you could find flaws. So there's no edah, there's no certain type of a congregation or a certain type of chassidut, or a certain, whether it's Ashkenazim, Sfaradim, Chassidim, Chabadit, Litaim, Kadurim, Parsim, there's no such thing that they only have positives and not negatives, or negatives. Everybody has their pros and their cons. Everyone has their pros and cons. So if somebody has a bad eye, he will only see the chasronot. He'll only see that which is lacking. And somebody that has an ayin tovah, good eye, he will only see the good things. And that's not only to see the differences between when somebody has a good eye and a bad eye, it's also the parshanut to see what is the action. Somebody that always has a bad eye, any single action that he does, you will judge it that it's because of an interest, because of this, because of that. The entire thing is because of that. But somebody that has a good eye is always looking at the positive for everybody else. And now the question is, okay, fine. So how do we see the half cup full? If you're going to tell me it has to do with the eye, because the eye is what starts it. So you're right. Part of it is to do with jealousy and everything else, because if you're jealous, you're going to start. But really, Be'emet, it's all according to what you're looking at. Because you're only going to be jealous if you're looking at something and saying, why does he have that and I don't have it? So even before the ga'ava, right, and even before the kin'ah, the jealousy, comes the eye. Because it's all in the eye of the beholder. Everything depends upon how you look at something. So he comes and he says like this: there's no human being that he has everything that he wants. And mitzad sheni, right? There's no human being that he doesn't have the chesed of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every single person, every single human being has a cup, which is half full. A person that has an ayin tova on the next person, he will always see the positive. And therefore, also in his own life, he will see his half a cup full because he's sameach bechelko, he's happy. And he's going to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But somebody that has a negative eye, and he always will find the faults in human beings, so too by himself, for himself, he will always see his half a cup full, empty. Meaning, even though it's a half a cup full, he only sees the empty part. Because since by nature, he's always looking at that which is lacking and always looking at the negative. So therefore, that's what he's going to find. He's always going to be bitter against HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's going to happen with anything that's going to happen. Right? How is he going to look at it? How is he going to define it? So he says somebody that has an ayin tovah, he'll explain that everything is good. But somebody that has an ayin ra'ah, so then everything's going to be bad. He's always going to look at the negative. And I'm going to give you an extreme case, but listen how to explain it. You have a couple, they have a child, and the doctor comes and he tells them, you should know that he's got tons of defects, right? You guys are going to live a life of Geinam. Imagine how many problems and everything. So now if you're going to come and you're going to see this couple, right, after 10 years or more, you're going to ask them, no, how's your pekela, how's your chavila, how's your package? Right? They're going to be very upset. They're going to say, what? He says, do you think this is our package? Our son? He's so beloved to us. He's so, you think that this is a bother for us? It's not a bother. This is the greatest present that we got from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What a neshama tehorah. The entire house, the father, the mother, the brothers, the sisters, everybody is built upon emunah bitachon. Look at our tefillot. Look how much this child comes and he gives us. You're going to come and you're going to say that this is like a package? It's not a package. This is somebody that has an ayin tovah. Because in every single little tiny thing, he's going to always look at the good. And therefore, he comes and he says that the second that he's already born, he only looks at the good of it. Now, again, obviously, we gave you a very extreme example. But really, be'emet, that goes in everything in life. Every single little tiny detail, it's a present from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what, you're going to say something negative? Something bad? Yeah, how could you even think of such a thing? Now, let's go back to the Hechal Meraglim. We asked, what's the Yisur to speak on stones and on bricks, correct? Like, speak on the land. What's the Avirah? They don't get offended. The answer is, they don't get offended. But our eye was looking in the negative. We start acquiring for ourselves the ayin ra'ah. And therefore, if we're going to come and say, what's the worst avirah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The answer is where does it come towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu from Lashon Hara? The ayin ra'ah is that where it's coming and it's starting and it's giving us the most negative things in the world. And that is the ayin ra'ah. There's an incredible pasuk in Devarim. Listen to what it says. The Dor Midbar, Dor De'ah. Imagine this is the generation that they received the Torah. They were taken out of Egypt. They saw the miracles of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't even understand what's going on. But it says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hated us, and that's why he took us out of Egypt, to give us in the hands of the Amori to destroy us. How did they get to such a theory? How did the Jews come and they see they were being slaughtered, they were being killed in Egypt? How in the world did they come to such a conclusion to say, you know what? God took us out of Egypt. He did all the miracles. He did everything that you want in order to give us over to the Amori to destroy us. How did they get there? What happened exactly? The Meraglim only saw the exact same things what Yoshua and Caleb saw. But Yoshua and Caleb, they went and they said, Tovar etz meod meod. It's an incredible land. What did they see? Eretz ochelet yoshvea. It's a land that's coming and killing out its people. Why is Hashem coming and bringing us to such a place? So 1 second, you see here the Yoshua and Caleb are seeing the exact same things which the other 10 spies are seeing. But Yoshua and Caleb come and they say, not only the land was good, Tovaretz me'od me'od, the land is very, very good. And the spies are coming and they're saying, Hashem hates us. Hashem wants to kill us. He wants to destroy us. And that's what's exactly going on. And that's what it's so incredible right? The difference between these two different cases of how to look upon the actions which are coming befalling upon us. The Chovot HaLevavot brings down about a Chassid that he went with the Talmidim, with the students, and they saw a nevelah. And they went and they said, how does it stench? So they said, look how terrible it is. The Chassid went and he said, yeah, but look how white his teeth are. Meaning, I never think about that story. Everybody agrees that the nevelah stenches. It's a terrible smell. Imagine a skunk. It stinks. So what is it now? Like what? All of a sudden now the white teeth are going to purify the smell? The smell had a terrible smell. They were correct. So what was he answering? What exactly is going on? And the answer is that he wanted to teach the students, what are you supposed to look at? You're right. If you're only going to look at the stench, it's got a terrible smell. But one second. But why don't you start focusing on the good in this nevelah? It's got incredible teeth. The Balatanya once wrote a letter to his students, and he wrote like this, and he said like this, don't speak bad of one against the other, but don't even think bad of one another. And he says a pasuk, what is the isur? What's the isur? He says, no. He says, because now you got for yourself an ayn ra'ah. The goy, right? He says that he had to be so happy in this world, right? He says he has money, children, everything. Imagine, Haman had everything. Haman HaRasha had everything that he wanted. He was the second in command. He had children, wives, money, palaces. What else does he need? So many children, and everything. And he said, what? Nothing is worth it for me. You know why? Because I have one Jew that's stuck in my face. Because of that one Jew, I'm not happy. Now, if you think to yourself, one Jew is going to come and going to take away everything that a person has. This guy came and he amassed a fortune. He amassed all the money. He had children, some 208 children. Verov. Imagine how many wives, how many children, What's the problem? And the answer is that it's all coming from the same thing. It's all coming. Alufa olam b'lashon hara. It says, Chazal HaKadoshim teach us, nobody knew how to say Lashon Hara like Haman HaRasha. Haman HaRasha was the expert in Lashon Hara. The Maharal comes and he says, Ish tsar ve'oyev Haman hara zeh. He says, if it's tsar oyev ve'ra, why does the pasuk come and divide it? So he says, you know why? He says the Maharal, Pile Plaot, tsar ve'oyev is what Haman did. But Ra is what Haman is. His name was Haman Hara. Tsar ve'oyev was his actions. He became our enemy. He became somebody that's going to oppress us. But Haman Hara is there. Haman Hara, the bad, the evil, that's his essence. That is who Haman is. Because of his ayn hara. Because of that, he always had a bad eye towards us. Do you know Rav Hillel Sachs used to come and bring the Kadmonim come and say, why do we say Lashon Hara? Right? It's Lashon Zeh is Nekeva. It should have been Lashon Ra'ah, not Lashon Hara. So the Kadmonim come and they say that the Lashon is on the human being. Ba'al Lashon Hara hu Ra. That he himself is Ra. And therefore he's only seeing bad in others. And that's what the Chavetz Chaim comes and he brings down in Shminat Lashon, Ki lo el Chafetz Resha ata lo yigerucha Ra. What does that mean? The Ba'al Lashon Ra, he's called Ra. And therefore he comes and he says that the person that's speaking, because if not, it should be Lashon Ra'ah. Right? Bad Lashon. It doesn't say that. It's Lashon Hara. The reason why is because Hara is not going on what you spoke. Hara is on the person who spoke it. But the person who spoke it is becoming evil when he starts speaking Lashon Hara. A good person always sees good. And that's the exact opposite. Tov ayin hu yivorach. A person that's good, he's got a good eye. Tov ayin hu yivarech. What does that mean? He's always going to bless. Tov tivaser. You're good and you're always, and that's why you say, Hodula Hashem ki tov, ki olam chasto. What does that mean? Hodula Hashem ki tov. You know why you're going to thank Hashem? Because you yourself, you're good. When you yourself are good, you're going to say thank you to Hashem. We thought, Hodula Hashem ki tov, thank Hashem because he's good. No, you are going to thank Hashem because you're good. And if you're good, you're going to thank Hashem. But if you're ra, if you're bad, you're never going to thank Hashem. Because it all depends upon us. It all depends on Hashem. It depends upon us, upon how we are, or what human being we are. And that's why it says, some people say that the Rasha, that's about Lashon Hara, he's always machovim. He always sees bad things. But if somebody's boteach b'Hashem, he always has chesed around him. He always, look how much chesed he has. That how HaKadosh Baruch Hu still comes and he still did this and he still did this and he gave us this and he gave us that. And you're always looking at the positive. So we asked at the beginning of the shiur, okay, so what's the key to happiness? Avodat midot, at the beginning, Ben Adam lechavero continues to Ben Adam lemakom as well. So the Sfarim HaKadoshim say, in every single midah, we acquire it in 40 days. Just like 40 days that it creates a human being. 40 days for Yetziat Havlad, for the form, the image of a child to become formed. So if somebody wants, for 40 days, test yourself on every single Jew, on every single Keilah, every single Chassidut. Think good about them. Speak good about them. Only look at the good things about them. And to be done lechav zechut. And somebody that does that for 40 days, he's going to realize that his entire life is different. He only sees positive. He's only going to see positive things. Because once you only think and speak good about others, all of a sudden everything changes. So once there was a Jew that he went and he said that he had a tzara b'bayit. He had a certain bad thing happening in the house, right? He had a problem exactly. See, with a get for his daughter. So he asked me, can I tell him something to strengthen him up? So I asked him, how many children do you have? So he said, so many which are married, so many in the house. I told him, do you know that the Chazon Ish, he would have been able to come and pay $1 million to switch you. The Chazon Ish didn't have any children. And if they would have given you your entire Chavilah, even with this one daughter that she's having a problem with a get and not a get, and that, do you think the Chazon Ish would have been willing to pay you $1 million for that? So why are you not saying thank you? He says, you're right, 100% that this is a tzara. This is something negative. But look at all the positive. Look how much they're willing to come and to pay. Some people, they come and they want to complain, whether it's about, certain things of parnasah, certain things about other things. And they come and they say, yeah, but you have health. You have your basics of parnasah. Why don't you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu with what you have? You know how many people would pay a fortune for that? You know how many people would come? People come and they start complaining, the children, and about this and about that. But why don't we actually come and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu with what Hashem gave us, to see the chesed? And that's what once it was brought down of Yecheskel Weinfeld. He came and he said two incredible things. And he says like this, remember that there was the Rochel, the peddler, that he was going around. And he was saying, who wants long life? And they said, watch over your mouth, and then you're going to have long life. The Pashtut, we always say the Chavetz Chaim, the Kavanah is that they have long life. But the Chavetz Chaim came and he said, 95 shanim, and Chazon Ish also. They said, there's a Kabbalah, right? That you could live for 10 years longer. And the Chavetz Chaim come and they said that that's more than 10. And some people explain in the Chavetz Chaim, somebody that wants long life, watch your mouth from bad. What does that mean? They say it's arichut yamim. They say it's arichut chayim. It's not on longer life. It's on quality of life. Your quality of life is going to be so much better when you're only looking at the good. When we're only looking at the good things which are happening. Ohev yamin. You're going to start loving life. You're going to benefit from life. You're going to enjoy life. Lirot tov. That's only a person that always looks at the good. When you're always going to look at the good, you're going to enjoy life. You're going to benefit from life. You're going to live longer. Now, even if it doesn't mean you actually meant longer, you're going to get much more out of life, a much better quality of life. If you're going to have an ayin tovah on the others, you for sure are going to always continue having an ayin tovah on everybody else as well. And I think that's a secret to having an incredible, always being happy, always enjoying yourself, benefiting from life, enjoying life, because that's what we're supposed to do in this world. Shabbat Shalom.